For this section, we are going to look at how the Renaissance came to be and why it ended up settling in Italy. 7th grade History Social Science covers the medieval and early modern times of world history. The Renaissance is the one major event that draws a line between these two eras. Medieval Europe comes to a close as the Renaissance begins to take shape in Europe, but more specifically in Italy. Under feudalism, numerous small kingdoms ruled Europe. Nations did not exist yet, and there were very minimal opportunities for Europeans to climb the social ladder. It wasn't until a plague, known as the Black Death, hit Europe that the feudal system began to break down. Over 20 million people were killed during the Black Death, which meant there were not enough people to work the fields of the knights and nobles. Social classes will be covered in more detail in the next section. Knights were becoming useless as advances in weaponry occurred. Knights were accustomed to fighting with their swords in a one-on-one fashion. But with advances in the longbow, which was highly effective from a distance, their purpose ceased to exist anymore. Everyone in Europe needed a new purpose and meaning in life, and this would come during the Renaissance. Europeans found themselves searching for the classical teachings from the Roman Empire and taking time to focus on themselves. Feudalism placed kings and institutions such as the church above everything else. In the time of the Renaissance and the creation of nations, Europeans could put themselves and their beliefs first. As Europeans began to search for the classical teachings created during the Roman Empire, aspiring scholars found themselves in Italy, as Rome was a main city within the country. Not only was Rome drawing Europe's attention, but also considering the geographic location of Italy, traders from around the world were beginning to flood into it. Italy is a peninsula that is surrounded by the Mediterranean, Adriatic, and Tyrrhenian seas. This set them up to trade by land and by sea. The Renaissance came at a time of peace in the world. Previously, people were too scared to trade with people who were long distances away from them, because you never knew who you would run into out on the lonely roads. They felt safer trading with local people around them. Cities such as Florence, Venice, and Milan became expanding urban centers. People from around the world were coming together to exchange goods and ideas, and some would eventually call Italy home. Florence is said to be the beginning of the Italian Renaissance. It is located near Italy's west coast, and it is along the Arno River, which feeds into the Mediterranean Sea. This brought traders directly into Florence. But one of the greatest reasons why Florence would be the heart of the Renaissance was because of the House of Medici. The Medici were a family that already lived in Florence, Italy, beginning in the 13th century. They gained their high status through commerce, more specifically, banking. They acquired a fortune by banking and becoming major players in the trading industry. They would end up commissioning artists throughout the Renaissance. To commission an artist meant that you would pay an artist to produce a particular art piece. This would allow artists to focus on their work compared to having to worry about making money. You will learn about the major figures of the Renaissance in a couple slides. The Medici sponsored a vast majority of them, including Michelangelo, Raphael, Donatello, and Leonardo da Vinci. Is anyone thinking of some famous Ninja Turtles right about now? In the next section, you will gain a greater understanding of humanism and its impact on the Renaissance. You will also learn about what it was like to live during the Renaissance in Italy. The next section will focus on the social classes that developed after feudalism and the developments in the makeup of family dynamics.